Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. Andrew Musgrove here, and as you can see I'm outside of St James's Park. That's right, I've left the office and gone on to location, and today's video is all about strikers and do Newcastle United need to buy a striker this summer. It's a topic that splits opinion and debate. You look on social media and you can see that people are split right down the middle about this one. Of course, Newcastle United have Alexander Isak and Callum Wilson, both fantastic Premier League strikers. So the question of spending a lot of money, 30-40 million on another one, always gets debate raging. Now, if you follow the podcast, you know that my view is Newcastle most certainly do need to end this window with another striker in the squad. Because sadly, I don't think you can rely on Callum Wilson to remain fit. I think the way you keep Callum Wilson fit is by starting most of the games on the bench as an impact sub. Isak, is fantastic, but again, he's had his injury concerns. And even if both were guaranteed, to remain fit throughout the season, I would still like a third out-and-out striker in the squad. Someone who can not only play, in the centre, but can also play on either side as well. So someone who's versatile, but predominantly is an out-and-out striker, a real goal scorer. Because I think you risk just having two out-and-out strikers. I think it's risky because injuries and suspensions and just poor form will always happen during the season, especially with the amount of games that Newcastle United have in the 2023-24 campaign, Champions League, Cup runs. Newcastle United are going to give every competition a really good go, and to have just two forwards, I think, is a big risk. However, the dilemma comes about who it would be and what kind of striker it would be, because do you go and sign someone who is in the peak of their career? And if so, how do you sell a move to Newcastle United? You can say, look, you've got Champions League football, great stadium, great city, fantastic fans, but will they want guarantees that they'll be ahead of Wilson and Isak in the pecking order? Now, Eddie Howe isn't the kind of manager to do that. It's all about how you work on the training pitch, what's right for the team. We saw last season you can score a couple of goals in one game and still not start the game afterwards. Eddie Howe is very ruthless, doesn't have favourites. It's all about what's right for the team. But if you're signing a top striker, you would think they're going to want some guarantees of first team football, and I don't think they'd get it here at Newcastle United, not those guarantees. They'd have to work hard and prove their worth. And then a price tag, 40-50 million. Are you spending 40-50 million to keep someone on the bench? It's a dilemma, isn't it? So then you turn to whether it's a young striker. Do you go and find someone who hasn't played all those many years, is 19, 20, but someone that they can mature and someone that they can mould into the striker they want, someone who can learn off Callum Wilson, someone who can learn off Alexander Isak, and really, use their experience and use their wise heads to become a better player. I'm just going to move me tripod down. I could do it at this angle, couldn't I? So yeah, do you bring in a young striker, someone who can learn off the top two, and in maybe a couple of seasons will be first choice, but isn't too downhearted about not playing week in, week out? But then I'm going to ask for some names. If you've got any ideas who could fit that mould, let me know in the comments, because I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Because even the young strikers in the Premier League who are performing well, they're not going to be cheap, and they're also probably going to want to move to a club where it's guaranteed first team football. So I'm thinking about someone like Brennan Johnson in Nottingham Forest, who had a fantastic debut season in the Premier League. How much would he cost you? I bet you were looking at maybe 30-40 million pounds to sign him. He's not going to be cheap at all, and like I say, you probably want those guarantees. So then you go to the other extreme and you go, well, do you get someone nearing the end of their career potentially? Someone who is over 30, someone who's got that experience, someone who can still cut it, but comes in knowing they're a backup. So I'm looking at someone like Rodrigo potentially at Leeds, who would cost you maybe 2 or 3 million pounds. Okay, the wages might be somewhere up towards 100,000, but he's proven he can do it in the Premier League. And he would be a good backup, I think. He would cover for injuries, he would cover for suspensions, he would cover for when the cups come about and maybe Wilson and Isak are a little bit tired, and he would offer a decent alternative to those two. And he's the kind of person who you can see coming in and just filling that place in the squad, for the next couple of seasons, while Newcastle go for other priorities where they're going to have to spend a lot of money. And I'm sure you guys can throw other names at me who might fit that mould of being over 30, not expecting first team football week in, week out. If you do have any of those names, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you think Newcastle need a striker. as I said, I asked this one on Twitter, and people were saying it's not a priority. It's not a priority. There are other priorities. A left back. Of course, Newcastle have gone and got their top priority, which was a central midfielder in Sandro Tonali, and they're probably looking to get another one potentially. They're in talks for Livramento as well, which is quite interesting. So there are other priorities, but for me, I think Newcastle United need a third striker just to cover Callum Wilson and Alexander Isak. Of course, saying that, Newcastle United won't buy someone just to cover. They'll buy someone who will push Isak, push Wilson, and also they'll buy someone, as I mentioned right at the start, could possibly play out on the flanks. Now, a lot of people say, well, you've got Anthony Gordon, you've got Alan St-Maximin, you've got Joe Linton who can fill in as an out-and-out striker, but then I say to you, do the maths. I mean, how many goals have they scored playing as a lone striker? Not very many. I mean, how bad was Joe Linton as a number 9? He was terrible. So yeah, you can see you've got those players to rely upon, but you know, do you want to rely upon them? I'm not too sure you do. I'd feel much more comfortable having a third striker there, as I say, to cover all eventualities, all possibilities that come with, you know, the rigours of next season and fighting on 4 fronts. For me, a third striker really is a must. Who it is, well, that's the $1 million question. Newcastle United will have scouted, will have looked at players, will have, you know, A, B, C lists on who it potentially could be. Yes, I admit it's not a priority, but for me, it is a must. And if a third striker hasn't been signed by the end of the window, I will be slightly disappointed and concerned, because I just don't know if you can rely on Wilson and Isak to get through a full season together. And like I said, even that aside, form isn't always there. So for me, a third striker is a must. Will it happen? I'm not too sure it will. I think if it does happen, it'll be very, very late in the window. It'll be one of those last signings of the summer window, you know, when they maybe look at the budget, or maybe look to get someone on loan or a free transfer. I think you'll see a lot of the money that's left in that budget go on a full back, and then potentially another centre back, a young centre back, especially if Jamal Lascelles heads off to West Ham, as is reported. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on a search for a striker. Is it needed? Would you like to see one? Who would you like to see? Head over to chroniclelive.co.uk for all the latest Newcastle United news, and remember to hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up as well. Helps the video get out to a wider audience. I've been Andrew Musgrove, and we'll see you very soon.